があるとマイクみたいになりたい。でも電話してくれない。オークランドとブックレンドから世界チャンピオンバーチャルプローズ始まるよ。バーチャルプローズ。
To my motherfucking man, 50 grand, the alcoholic man, inject a tall can in his bloodstream if he can. Biggie Smalls, the 50 stroker, MC provoker, chocolate tie smoker, huh? I like to max and Maximas and Acuras. Your girl butt cheeks, I'm smacking, huh? The raw rapper, spine snapper, with the little, cause on my lap, a shot, the ball, I ain't your fucking comforter. And if I ever fall in love, I bet I'm fucking her. Ask the if I didn't choke her. If she try to front, then I.
This is kind of a cold open, but recently, Ed on Twitter, he recently tweeted that he despises the AKA stuff, and frankly, I'm curious on how this is going to sound. So this is episode 92 of That World Champion Sound Virtual Pros podcast. My name is Al, and with me is Mike.
Hey, what's up, motherfuckers? It's Mike, a.k.a. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do it.
I just wanted to feel like that episode of Raw that I went to in Sacramento that was like 9 hours long where they had promised to make changes. So that was the vibe that I had. So, Ed, I hope you're happy. Today's topic, favorite wrestling toy lines. Listen to Al and Mike discuss their favorite wrestling action figures and dolls. Hit us on Twitter and Instagram at VRTL Pros. Hit us on SoundCloud. Hit that heart. You know I like it. Hit us on iTunes. Leave a 5-star review and subscribe if you haven't already. Peep us on Spotify. And if you want to participate, email us at virtualpros64@gmail.com. There's a fair amount of emails, Mike. You mind starting off with that first one?
Sure. The first one's from DJ. It's entitled 4 Weeks Late. The Manhattan Center is the best venue for professional wrestling. ROH ran there in like 2007, and they had $2 Rockstar energy drinks and classic shitty almost cold pizza. The floor seats were intimate, the stage had GA seats, and the balcony had killer views. I fucking saw Misawa there. Manhattan Center, greater than Hammerstein. Runner-ups for me, Empress Ballroom, and pretty much every GCW venue is great. But let's talk about the pizza. What is it about the guaranteed mediocrity to downright awfulness of pizza at independent wrestling shows that make me get it every time? Is it the excessive amount of malt liquor I would consume beforehand, or the 4 edibles I ate in the car? Possibly the nostalgia of shitty pizza from childhood as I grasp onto the last straws of my youth. It's probably the drugs, but I fucking love it. Much respect, the king of appropriating strong style, DJ Strong Style. I'm not going to read his AKAs just to keep with the theme. The Manhattan Center is the Hammerstein Ballroom. So I think
is that true?
I mean, I think that, I mean, it's the same building, but I think maybe Hammerstein's like the downstairs one and Manhattan Center is the upstairs one or something like that.
Okay.
But it's for sure the same building though. So, but I mean, I feel like both of those rooms are fairly the same. I don't know. Maybe I'm tripping and I'm remembering it wrong, but I've been to both and they're both kind of the same, but whatever. I don't know that it is about the pizza. I think the only time I've indulged outside of AIW, who gets Angelo's pizza, which is semi-decent. I don't think it's, the most amazing pizza, but it's okay. I've had that a couple times, but outside of that, I only indulged in GCW's really sketchy Little Caesars pizza once, and I mean, I don't regret it because I didn't die or anything, but it was definitely a bad purchase.
Yeah, I mean, that retro Raw at that Manhattan Center, it looked nothing like the Hammerstein Ballroom, so you might be tripping, Mike. I don't know.
What are you talking about?
You said it was the same building, right? I
yeah.
don't know. In terms of pizza, it's kind of a home run here, at least. I feel like, at least the independent shows I've been to, they just order round table, and that shit's fucking good.
I guess the Manhattan Center is a bit smaller. It's a bit... Yeah, I guess it's a little different. I mean, it's the same kind of bullshit, old-timey kind of architecture and stuff, though, so whatever.
Next email from Ed. This is from Pod Van Dam. What's up, guys? Titled Mount Rushmore Question. What's up, Virtual Pros boys? I'm pretty lifted and bored as fuck at work, and started thinking, why the fuck doesn't New Japan do something more with Goto and that great head of hair? Then that got me thinking, what's the Mount Rushmore of underused talent in Japanese wrestling? Dudes who had it, but never the focus of the company. Wanted to know what you guys think. Mine is Jun Akiyama, Blue Trunks All Japan days. His Noah run was pretty good. Hiroki Goto, Wing Kanamura, and Super Delphin. Ed, a.k.a. Oh, shit, I'm sorry. Ed. I fucked you bad. God damn. Assembling... What do they call these? The best hands?
Good hands.
Good hands. Mount Rushmore, good hands. I like Oya from FMW. He's up there. Super Delphin. Yeah, you kind of took all the good answers, Ed. There's like a common theme with like this week's emails, and it's like people asking us questions and then taking the best answers, so they sound like assholes. My only submission would be Oya. Maybe I'll switch him out with Goto, and that'll be my Mount Rushmore.
It's always hard for me to gauge who is really not important in Japan, as opposed to how I view them, because it's completely different. Like, I don't know the truth about Goto. I feel like maybe he is kind of popular in Japan. I don't really know. It's kind of like Makabe, because he's very popular. They always say he's like their most popular wrestler as far as like mainstream goes, and no one would ever think that. I would go with that dude Takaiwa from New Japan in the 90s. That kind of just one. He was in that like class of great junior wrestlers, and if you listen several episodes ago, he's doing backroom grappling wrestling with a guy named One Man Crew in a possible sushi restaurant now. So that's kind of sad. And I would also go with Shugi or Sugi or whatever that dude's name is, who had like multiple names, that I think was involved in that whole Io Shirai weed thing.
Yeah.
That guy was like super good at doing high flying shit, but I don't think anybody cares anymore. So yeah, those would be my two. Next email is from Eric. Maybe wrestling is just a weird niche thing now, and we should all just accept it. Pros. Wrestling Twitter is full of discourse about why wrestling isn't as popular as it used to be, and what must be done to draw in more casual fans. But few people seem to consider that maybe wrestling's time as top entertainment draw might just be over forever. Whenever I see someone's pet theory about how to get casuals invested again, I think back to the early 2000s, when every promotion in the US and Japan went into the toilet at the same time. Excuse me. WWE, WCW, it's just all of them. There's a lot of them. And probably a bunch of other promotions that aren't springing to mind right now all went right in the shitter to varying degrees. Some went out of business completely, some declined quickly. Some declined more slowly, but a wide variety of promotions with a wide variety of philosophies all failed at once, and the ones that survived have never really recovered. Do you think that maybe humanity as a whole has just moved on from the bizarre spectacle of weird people and weird outfits staging fights as a mainstream form of entertainment? Maybe the weird thing is that it was ever as popular as it was in the first place. Eric. I feel that way. I honestly think that the kind of surge in semi-popularity that like independent wrestling has now and stuff like AEW has now is... I've said this in real life. I don't know if I've ever said it in the show, but it's kind of just like how Doctor Who was popular a few years ago, and literally every nerd on Earth loved Doctor Who. And I remember going to like Comic-Con like 5 years ago, and 90% of it was just Doctor Who merchandise. And now no one cares about Doctor Who anymore. And I think all those people kind of migrated to wrestling, where they're just like, oh, this is the new thing to be obsessed with. And I feel like even those people might like bounce after a few years and move on to whatever the other cool new nerd thing is. But yeah, as far as mainstream, I think it would take a lot for wrestling to be like mainstream popular again, just because it is kind of like an antiquated art form at this point.
Yeah, I mean, at this time, like, I feel like early to mid 2000s, like, entertainment just got like so fragmented, whereas like now, like in 2019, I could just watch like mukbang videos all day long. And so like my attention to wrestling is not going to be as strong, and I think a lot of people have experienced that as well. Yeah, I mean, when did online like gaming start popping off? Probably early 2000s, right? I was probably playing Halo as opposed to watching Raw. Yeah, which is why all that shit died out. So I'm with you, Eric. I think, yeah, mainstream, I don't think it'll ever happen again, just because everyone's attention spans are too fucked up. Next email is from Daniel. No subject. Hey, Mike and Al. This was going to be a road report from Jollibee London, but I'm going to hold off that as they didn't have the mango pie on the menu. My fiance and I were in the car the other day when we decided to listen to misogynist rap classic Dr. Dre's 2001. If you're unfamiliar with this album, there's a guy all over it. More than Snoop, 1999 incarnations of Eminem and Exhibit called Hitman. He's all over the album. Totally okay rapper, not having the charisma or skills of the guys I just mentioned, but he got that cosign from Dre. After the album came out, it was crickets for his career. Nothing just ever happened. It had me wondering, is there a wrestling equivalent to someone that got that A-plus cosign, but then totally fumbled into pure obscurity like Hitman? Hope you're well. Daniel. Man, speaking of Dre, well, first off, what kind of Jollibees does not have the peach mango pie on the menu? I would fucking burn that shit down. What's the point? That's like half of the reason to go. Secondly, why do you think we wouldn't be familiar with 2001, Daniel? It's pretty fucked up. But anyway, I do recall Hitman kind of getting this push. And I feel like Dre had like all kinds of these like failed projects, right? He had The Firm.
Yep.
Even though The Firm gave us Phone Tap and Desperados, which is
he's supposed to bring Raekwon back. That didn't happen.
Is that true?
Yeah. He might even released a record on Dr. Dre's label at some point, but Busta Rhymes was another one that like went nowhere.
There was a guy,
Joel Ortiz.
Fuck, this is gonna kill me. Bishop Lamont. Does that ring bells for you?
Yeah.
That was supposed to be the next guy, and it's been crickets for Bishop Lamont. In terms of wrestling, I mean, there's like probably a bunch of them that I can't think of off top. Mason Ryan was one, right? He was on Raw for like a couple weeks straight as like the guy, and all of a sudden he was just gone. Who else?
Yeah, I can't believe they gave up on that dude. That dude had the craziest like muscle man body I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, right? He's like doing Cirque du Soleil or some shit now. Is there a Japanese guy that like was like on the stage and all of a sudden wasn't there anymore? I'm trying to think. I don't know.
For mine, the most recent answer I can think of was, of course, Burt Axel, who got like co-signed by Paul Heyman and became a Paul Heyman guy for like 3 weeks. And they're just like, this is not going anywhere. But a kind of a deep cut. I know a lot of people around my age, and maybe Al probably remembers too. But right when the internet started like kind of popping with people talking about wrestling, like the DVD board and stuff like that, Dory Funk started training this kid named Adam Windsor. And
oh shit!
And he would just like post things. I mean, I like Dory Funk had his own website, and he would just post stuff all the time. Like, this dude is going to be like the next whatever. Like, he's going to be the next Ric Flair. This Adam Windsor kid that I'm training, and I think he was just like milking money out of this kid. And he just talked about this kid for years. And there was one time he posted like this sketch photo of him of like Adam Windsor completely naked with a belt over his dick. And it was just like this long odyssey of Dory Funk training this Adam Windsor kid. And I think he had like a few independent matches and really never did anything beyond that.
Who was that guy's fucking name? Glenn Kolka? Was he supposed to be like Canadian Hulk Hogan or some shit?
I don't remember that.
Glenn Kolka, dude, look that guy up.
Next up is from Seagulls. Yeah, that's the Seagulls. Hey, Vert boys. Here's a bit of a semantics question about the podcast I was hoping you could clear up. Mike is introduced as one half of the Bread Hunters, one half of Blumolition, etc. Are we to believe Al is the other half of these combinations? Is Mike teaming up with someone else that we don't know about? Is it just nonsense? Thanks for clearing this up. Love, Seagulls. And then he emailed back multiple AKAs, so that sucks for him that we're not reading them. I don't know. I always assumed Al was the other half, but I guess it's up to Al to explain.
Yeah, I'm just a piece of shit, Seagulls, right? Not the other half. Last email is from Scott, titled Returning to Japan. Hi, Al and Mike. I hope you're well. I was thinking about Kenta and his return to Japan. It's worked out pretty well for him overall. He was able to play a free agent / Shibata's buddy type character, although some fans think he's a Judas for leaving Noah behind. But it's kind of hard to think of his WWE run as anything but a bust due to his injuries and timing. Out of the Japanese wrestlers that have had extended overseas / US runs, who has benefited the most after coming back to Japan? Keiji Muto used his US runs to expand into a heel persona that absolutely made him a bigger star when he came back. Kenzo Suzuki seems to have kept it low-key, slumming it in all Japan. You can say that both Tajiri and Asuka have become bigger names due to their US wrestling runs. Both were kind of sort of cult underground before they left. If and when Asuka wrestles again for a Japanese promotion, she will be huge. Is it Taka Michinoku perhaps? Long run, head of his own promotion, New Japan, etc. What do you guys reckon? Cheers, Scott B. Yeah, my answer was going to be Tajiri, but now that you pointed it out, I guess it is Taka Michinoku. He got to participate in New Japan, and I kind of think his promotion, he had to leave, right? Because he was kind of creeping, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah, Tajiri got to start Smash, and I don't think that would have happened, if he just stayed being Blue Panties Tajiri, even though that's my favorite Tajiri. Yeah, so I guess Taka, I suppose.
Again, I don't know from the perspective of actual Japanese people, but I have a good feeling that if Masato Tanaka didn't have his ECW run, Americans probably would not give one shit about Masato Tanaka in 2019. So I think that kept that dude kind of in everybody's minds for a while.
Yeah. That was the last email, yeah?
Yep.
If you want to participate, email us at virtualpros64@gmail.com. I don't have a lot of topics, but we can talk, Mike. Two-man scramble time. So, Ty Dillinger, a.k.a. Sean Spears. So apparently he's like a pretty serious guy now. He's going by the chairman, which is pretty fucking stupid and sounds kind of dead in the water because, as I recall, one of the Young Bucks was like, yo, these are just cookie sheets. Like, they're not real chairs. So like, maybe don't be the chairman. But unrelated to this question, so who's your favorite jobber to Hardman rebrand of all time?
Oof.
I'll start first.
Okay.
So it was crazy to me when one half of the American Males, Scotty Riggs, he was then Riggs and Raven's flock or whatever, but then he came to ECW and they were like, yeah, man, he's boys with RVD, he's cool, and he was going by Scott Anton. And I was like, come on, this is not even realistic. RVD did not hang out with Scotty Riggs. This is bullshit. And like, I remember they tried to have some kind of work rate match at whatever pay-per-view that was, and I was like, this is the most unbelievable shit of all time in wrestling. I hate this.
I mean, I guess just to piggyback off that, then it would probably be Raven. He was probably the biggest one of my era, I think, because he used to be like Scotty Flamingo, and he used to just be a dork. And I started watching ECW, and it took me a while to piece it together, and I was like, oh man, that's that Scotty Flamingo guy. And he's made like a whole career out of it, so probably him. I always liked when like they gave like Red Rooster a push, like he was Terry Taylor and then he became the Red Rooster, and he was like relevant for 3 months when I was a kid, and it was like, yeah, they're like making guys that always get beat up into better guys, and I was like excited about it. And then they did it with Barry Horowitz for a second, and the Brooklyn Brawler, of course, and they all just like petered out.
Test RIP was a weird one too, right? He was just like a normal guy, and then all of a sudden he was like, "Yo, I'm gonna be putting people through tables now."
Same thing with the Hardy Boys. They used to be jobbers too, and then they're still going, sort of.
Crazy. My last topic, we got to talk about it. G1 has this year exceeded your expectations, and what's been some of the highlights for you?
That was one of my few topics too. So it'll probably be a quick episode, but I've unemployed, so I've managed to watch the whole entire thing.
Damn.
I watch a lot of it in the background, so I'm not like taking notes or anything like that. I think it's been pretty good. It's honestly, it's been very surprising to me because I didn't think they were going to give Jon Moxley all these wins. I don't know if you guys are trying to avoid G1 spoilers, but he's undefeated as of right now. And I don't know math, so I feel like that puts him in very good contention to winning the whole thing, because he's beaten... Like, who's left that he hasn't beaten that's kind of like a big deal? Is Tanahashi... No, Tanahashi's not in his thing.
In B-Block?
He's kind of beaten all the people. Naito, he hasn't beaten Naito.
Yeah, they haven't wrestled yet.
So he's like the only one that I think might beat him. So I don't think they're going to give Jon Moxley the main event at the Wrestle Kingdom, so I don't know what's going to go on. I have like a small feeling they might have Okada just run with it and have him win the G1 and then choose his own opponent. Kenta, I guess, has a good chance of winning too, which is another sort of surprise. And that's it. So it's more surprising. I like the Ishii Jon Moxley match. I don't think I liked it as much as a lot of people did, but I just watched the Ishii Naito match from last night a little while ago, and that might be my number one so far because I thought it was pretty good.
I'm with you with Moxley and Ishii being really good. That chair fight was pretty sick. I gotta talk about Ospreay and Okada, and people have been saying like this is an all-time great match, and I thought it was good. Fucking Okada doing a Bob Burnquist Vrtl out of fucking Stormbreaker will never leave my mind. But did you think it was that good? Like generational classic?
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was pretty good. There's something going on with my Chromecast where it kept freezing in the same spot, so it kind of took me out of the moment. But and I think I already know who won, so that kind of also took me out of the moment. But I thought it was pretty good, but I don't know. Yeah, Dave Meltzer was just like coming his pants over it, and I don't know. He was like saying it was even better than Okada Omega, and I don't know about that. It was very good though. I think they'll probably have a better match down the road as long as Ospreay doesn't break his neck. But maybe I don't. Yeah, I guess Ospreay could still win too. It's. I mean, they do this every year where they make it so even very inside smart mark people are just like, I don't know who's going to win. And it's still like up in the air. I don't think it's halfway through, but it's close.
Yeah, I think the smart money's still on Kota Ibushi and Okada main eventing since they've protected that match. Along with that, people have been pretty down on Kenta, but I don't see it, man. He's been pretty good. What do you think?
I thought he's pretty good. That first match, he looked a little rusty. It was still pretty good. I also think that was still like the hardest match he's been in as far as like people beating the shit out of each other.
Yeah.
And I don't think he gets enough credit for that. Obviously, he did the go to sleep at the end and it was kind of real shitty, but yeah, I mean, he's been fine. I think I don't know what people are expecting. He's older. I mean, he's been injured and he's been not doing much for 5 years, but I think he's hanging with everybody pretty good.
I didn't see the Lance Archer match, but I heard it was pretty good. But I thought Tanahashi versus Kenta was like really, really great.
Yeah, Lance Archer. I think that might have been my favorite Lance Archer match was with Kenta actually.
Really, over Will Ospreay, huh?
I didn't like that one. I told you.
Oh, that's right.
I didn't like
think
that
it was
match.
Believable. I got it.
Yeah, it's not believable.
That was my last topic.
Okay. Yeah, I got a mishmash of topics here. First off. We have a Discord chat server thing now. The teens requested. Teens were like, "This is how we talk to each other now. We talk on Discord," which is kind of just like a chat room. Unfortunately, it's difficult, and I can't just be like, "Hey, go to virtualprosdiscord.com to go into the chat room." You have to like find the link. And I've posted it on Twitter many times, but I think it changes and expires. So if you're trying to get in this chat room, just hit us up on Twitter or Instagram or whatever. And that's the other thing, I can't post on Instagram because you can't really click on links on Instagram either. So it's kind of, there's like 100 people in there, so it's not like lame or anything, but it's still a little low key. But if you're into the Discord lifestyle, then there's now Virtual Pros Discord chat.
I just like that it tells you what video games people are playing. So Seagulls right now is playing Battlefront 2 Star Wars. What a loser.
Yeah, I didn't like
I'm just kidding, Seagulls. I'm just kidding.
I guess that's what it was invented for, was for people to chat while playing video games, which is a very weird idea for me. And it says like you could link your YouTube, so I was like, oh sweet, I could like link our YouTube and like we can watch shit in the room together, but it's not for that. It's just like to link YouTube so you could, I don't know, live stream and talk over it or something. I don't know. It's just it seems like a difficult thing, but kids love it. Kids love the Discord, so if you're one of those kids, or if you're an old man and just miss AOL chat rooms, because that's pretty much what it is, just hit us up for that link. The next this is kind of a shitty topic. I watched Pac versus Ben K from Dragon Gate's big whatever event was a couple weeks ago.
Damn, you're
good.
watching hella wrestling.
I heard like a couple people were like, oh, this is like the greatest match of the year. It was okay. It was fine. I've never seen this Ben K before. He looks like Tozawa and Kenta Kobashi had a baby, so that's pretty cool. It was a good match for what it was, but it's not going to make me go out and watch Dragon Gate anytime soon. I just wanted to point out that I watched it, though. Our friend Thrift Store Jobber, a.k.a. Brian, just released a Bob Holly t-shirt. Bob Sparkplug Holly, actually, back then, and it is the best design shirt I've seen. He went to like one of the actual NASCAR graphic designers and had them design it, so it looks completely like an old 90s style, 90s style NASCAR shirt that's kind of in vogue in the vintage stores right now. So if you're into that shit, man, this shirt is fucking nice. It's, just follow Thrift Store Jobber on Instagram for the link, or TS Jobber on Twitter if you want one. I think they're like $20.
Yeah, that shirt is great, if only because I think the people that buy these sorts of shirts are starting to get comfortable with not wearing black t-shirts anymore.
Yeah.
So I'm pumped.
It's definitely a white t-shirt. I think Thrift Store Jobber might be pivoting over to more selling NASCAR stuff, more full time than wrestling stuff, because as I've heard, I think the bubble is kind of burst on reselling wrestling merch, because people feel the need to charge like $300 for a Bret Hart shirt, as if everybody's as rich as me, and they are not. So I don't know. It's fucking dumb. So yeah. So this might be his last shirt. ECW isn't. I mean, it's not now on WWE Network, but they added about a dozen events I never thought WWE would add to the network. A lot of like secondary super shows that weren't really pay-per-views. And I've said it before on the show, I'll say it again. Man, that shit really holds up. I don't care what you say. I know there's a lot of contrarians out there that want to say that ECW is never good. You're probably a dumb teen that knows nothing about life. So I am here to say that 96 to 98 run of ECW is so good. A lot of people on Twitter were talking about it, but House Party 96, man, that is one hell of an event. Just for like the introduction of that is amazing. So if you guys have not heard of this, not heard of ECW or the WWE Network, definitely track it down. Definitely track down all the shit they uploaded from 96, because it's great. And I know a lot of people are like, I can't watch it without the music. Like, what are you doing? I understand when New Jack comes out, but this is pre-New Jack doing all that shit. So, I mean, it's kind of wonky when they play weird music, but it's like 2 minutes. You just turn up your own music real loud.
I heard that they're actually going to go through with the highest tier $15 a month thing.
Yeah.
Are you into that or no? I don't think I'm in on that at all.
No, God, no. I was on the verge of canceling before they added the CCW stuff. And now I actually did get an email saying they are this very week as we speak, are actually finally updating like the WWE Network redesign. So I'm anxiously waiting for my devices to be updated with this redesign and see what it's like.
Oh, okay. I thought it was today. I was watching that video of like the new features.
Yeah. And they said this week, but I mean, there's 2.5 days left of this week. So, I mean, it gotta be, I would assume like a lot of the devices will switch over like today at midnight. So, my last topic is also via, pretty sure this also came via Brian, aka Thrift Store Jobber. And this is a good one. So somebody in one of my little group chats posted something about, I guess Ryback was posted on Instagram something about he was going to tell the story of Rod McMahon, who was Vince McMahon's brother, like a real life brother. And I don't think it's like hold on, I copied this link to my
There's no way his brother's name is Rod.
He's fucking old back then.
Big man. Okay.
Hold on a second. Sorry, I thought if I posted the link on my notepad, it would come up, but it doesn't. So hold on. I gotta type it out. So anyways, this Rod McMahon story. Brian sent it to me, and basically this blog, ringthedamnbell.wordpress.com, obviously a very reputable source, posted this story by a man named Brian Damage. Again, sounds very reputable. But supposedly, Court Bauer, the guy who runs MLW, had a podcast. I don't know if he still does. Maybe he does. And supposedly he spilled the beans on what was supposed to be the aftermath of Vince McMahon blowing up in the limo. My biggest curiosity in wrestling. So I just wanted to read this passage by Brian Damage from ringthedamnbell.wordpress.com. In the storyline verse of WWE, 2007 was not a good year for Vince McMahon. He would have his head shaved by his arch nemesis Donald Trump at WrestleMania, and then lose the ECW title to Bobby Lashley at One Night Stand in June of that year. Seemingly distraught, embarrassed, and depressed, WWE scheduled a Mr. McMahon Appreciation Night for Monday Night Raw on June 11th, 2007. To buoy his spirits, it didn't work, and Mr. McMahon walked away from his WWE empire and entered his limousine. Once a man entered the vehicle and shut the door, the limo exploded. So then it goes into like how Chris Benoit went to heaven, and they couldn't stick with the story anymore, and so they scrapped it. Then I'm trying to just summarize this. Okay. So, for all the obvious reasons, the angle was scrapped, and we never knew exactly when or what WWE had planned for the McMahon angle. It wasn't until 10 years after the storyline was dropped that fans got some insight into where the angle was headed and who was going to be involved in it. Former WWE creative writer Court Bauer revealed on his podcast, The World According to Wrestling, that there was to be a 3-hour memorial show for McMahon, complete with a 10-bell salute. A funeral was scheduled for Mr. McMahon, which introduced WWE fans to someone no one was yet familiar with. During Vince's memorial service, his long-lost brother Roderick would attend. Yes, Vincent Kennedy McMahon's real-life older brother Rod was going to be used in WWE storyline. Vince and Rod were raised by separate families and were not very close growing up. From all indications, Rod was never interested in getting involved in the pro wrestling business. As the years moved on, Rod and Vince formed a closer relationship, and Vince wanted to utilize his brother in the storyline, according to Bauer. The other McMahon family would be used to run the WWE programming with Rod, the anti-Vince character. Apparently, Rod was going to be nice and kind and everything Mr. McMahon wasn't. It would eventually lead to a McMahon civil war over control over the WWE empire. Then it goes on for another paragraph or so, but yeah, I just want to put that out there. I don't 100% believe this. Like, I do believe Court Bauer said this, but I think he was like one of many writers, so I believe this was an idea pitched, and I don't understand why Rod, and there's also a picture of Rod on here too. So,
I'm looking at him right now.
Yeah.
He looks like Gerard Gordeau from UFC 1.
So I don't know if Rod was down to do this, why he never showed up in wrestling afterwards, but so that's why it's kind of hard for me to believe. But it's good for me personally to have some closure on the story, and for me to finally be able to imagine what would happen and be even more sad about it, because the idea of somebody coming out and being like, I'm Rod McMahon, I would have lost my shit. Oh my god, I would have been WWE fan for life if this happened. So Chris Benoit had to blow it. He fucking screwed everything up. This Rod McMahon story sounds great, though.
Oh my god, Rod McMahon is such a ridiculous name. I don't think this is true at all. Rod McMahon, come on, dude. No fucking way.
Maybe it's all fake. Maybe ringthedamnbell.com made it all up. I don't know. I believe, though. I believe this.
Jesus Christ. Today's topic, favorite wrestling toy lines. Listen to Al and Mike discuss their favorite wrestling action figures and dolls. Please stay tuned. And we're back with Virtual Pros, episode 92. Today's topic, listen to Al and Mike discuss their favorite wrestling action figures and dolls. So the reason why I decided to talk about toys this episode was because there's been a lot of toy talk in recent weeks. So Super 7, they announced at Comic-Con that they're going to do a New Japan line. I'm guessing in the style of those reaction figures that you see for like movie franchises like Alien, which I think is cool. I think some people speculated that it'd be blind box, but I don't think that's Super 7's thing.
No, Super 7 really milks any license they get.
Yeah.
So I think if they're going full bore with it, they are going to do every single possible thing they could do, basically. So
Are you excited for these at all, or what?
They can get me with the blind boxes. I'm over that reaction shit. I mean, not that I've ever even bought one, but I remember when they first came out, I was like, that's a cool idea. But it's like, I mean, it's not as much as Funko Pop, but it's getting close as far as how many things have been turned into basically the Kenner Star Wars mold. I think a lot of companies outside of Super 7 have tried the whole turn things into He-Man dolls.
Yeah.
And I think that's a bad look. Like, I don't think I loved He-Man. It was my favorite thing when I was a kid, but I don't think that kind of action figure really flies in 2019 in the 21st century as a whole, basically. It's just kind of weird. So yeah, they do those like cool little muscle type of blind box things. Those are cool. Sometimes they have like, cool variant things like the kind of clear, like transparent plastic dolls and stuff like that. So yeah, I would probably be for some of this stuff.
Yeah, I'm a hold on it. I'm behind anything that will allow me to buy a Tomohiro Ishii toy.
Yeah,
without question. But those Star Wars figures, I've never been a fan of. Yeah. Also with that, I guess WWE is discontinuing the retro line, where they made modern stars into the Hasbro figures, which hopefully means I can get like a Shinsuke on the cheap, but I didn't buy any of those either. But yeah, before we start, I had asked this question on Twitter about when you were a kid, what figure did you defer to as your world champion?
It's kind of weird because there was like a whole huge period in my life where me and my friend Kenny that lived across the street we played like G.I. Joe like every day.
Yeah.
But we never played G.I. Joe. Like, we would just use G.I. Joe dolls to do weird shit with. But I don't know if we ever did actual wrestling. But I think I showed you. It's my favorite G.I. Joe that was always the champion of everything. Is this dude. His name is Pit Viper. And he's this dude who has like it's like a ninja type outfit, and it's orange and blue camo. And he has like a huge shield, and I thought that was like the coolest thing ever because it was not only camo, but it was orange and blue, so it was obnoxious too. So anytime we had because we used to just make a pile of G.I. Joes and like, pick, and who gets first pick and stuff like that, just alternate. And he was always my first pick for like any kind of weird game we were playing that day.
Same thing, man. Fucking Arctic Trooper was my world champion. I think just because like he had the most articulation, and I felt like such a genius at the time because like, I'd have Arctic Trooper versus Hillbilly Jim, and Arctic Trooper had all these joints, and I was like making him do like Hurricane Ranas and shit. And I like feel like I invented that in a way, sort of. So Arctic Trooper always like at the top of the pile in terms of my wrestling federation. But anyway, I had picked 3 toy lines, kind of in the mold of like last episode where I tried to pick one from the past, present, not really future, but you know where I'm going with this. So
I'm sorry, I just want to correct myself. It's Alley Viper, not Pit Viper. Alley Viper was the orange and blue camo guy.
So my first one, this is where it all started, and I have to have this on my list because I have like way too many little kid memories attached to it, and it's the LJN WWF Wrestling Superstars line. I think the Iron Sheik mold, it might be my favorite mold of all time. He had the pointy boots. He was like doing a flex, so that means like he could do like elbow drops anytime he wanted. He can do all kinds of headlocks. He was just the man, and I got Coco Beware for Christmas from my favorite cousin Eric, and I still feel kind of bad because I lost Frankie like within 10 minutes of getting Coco Beware. I was a shitty kid, so I still feel pretty bad about it to this day. To top it off, though, I got the cage match accessory, and I remember from the time my parents ordered it to the time it arrived, like I almost forgot like I had got the cage match or whatever, or the cage that came with the ring, because you had to do like the mail order thing. So I think like between the time it got copped and the time it got delivered, it was like 3 months. But when it came, like the game was never the same. And so LJN, definitely a Hall of Fame toy line for me.
Yeah, that's my first one too. Like Al, I have too many little kid memories attached to this. So when these came out, I was, I think they came out like 84 or something, so I was very small. Yeah, the first wave came out in 84, and I didn't know how life worked back then. I was a little tiny kid, and I think like my mom or somebody in my family came home, and I think it was Jimmy Snuka or Andre the Giant, and they were like, here, and they gave me it, and I was like, whoa, what is this? Like, I didn't even know they made wrestling dolls at that time, and I was just like amazed. And I was just like, this is the fucking greatest day ever. A lot of people talk about these dolls, and they're the big rubber ones that don't have any articulation, and the only move you could do with them is bounce them real hard on the ground so they flip. And what they don't get credit for is the packaging on these were insane. Like the backing card, they came with a little poster. The design itself is just, everything about it was really amazing. But outside of that, so I had this one, like I said, it was either Snuka or Andre the Giant. I think it was Snuka. And I remember, like, my mom took me to the toy store to buy another one. And I think there was, like, 5 when they first came out. And the toy store had 3 of them that I didn't have. And I couldn't decide, and my mom was like, I'm just gonna get you all 3. And it was like the greatest day of my life. I was just like oh my god. And so that was great. But coincidentally, I don't think I got really any after that first 5. I think maybe I got like Corporal Kirshner or something, just like a real random one after that. But I didn't really get any. I loved them, but I just I kind of quit after the first 5, because I think after that was when like He-Man was just in full, like, it was just consuming my life, so I didn't have any time for wrestling dolls. But I did get the ring. I got the ring. I didn't get the cage match accessory, but I definitely had the ring. But yeah, I never got like deep into that line after the that first wave.
You know what's fucking funny that you bring up Andre the Giant? That's how I discovered that Andre the Giant always wasn't a guy that wore a black singlet. So the kid down the street, MJ, he was the rich kid that got everything, right? And so I went over his house, and I was like rummaging through his toy box, and I was like, who the fuck is this? Why does he have blue underwear? What guy was this? And he was like, that's Andre the Giant. I was like, what? So, those toys kind of put me on game in a sense as well. I did not know that Andre the Giant at one point of his life wore blue underwear, but I found out that day. My next one. So I feel like these just dropped at the right time for me in my life, so I have to mention them. And that's the ECW figures, the first line. So I don't think the figures were all that great, but they like had their quirks, and the wrestlers in the series were my absolute favorite at the time. So I got to show some respect. Like, I like that every figure came with some kind of accessory, some plunder, as Dusty Rose would say. Sabu came with a trash can, which was kind of weird, because you would think, they give him, I don't know, like a table or a chair. But New Jack's mold was, like, really sick. He came with a guardrail, I think, but he had a shirt on that said No Limit Soldiers, which I thought was some kind of, like, trademark violation, but they got away with it, and I thought that was fucking sick. I just thought it was weird at the time I could buy, like, this underground product at, like, my local KB Toys or Target, so that's why I think it has, like, this fondness in my heart.
Yeah, I kind of neglected to think about that. I pretty much had all of them. I think at one point I even had doubles where I had, like, some opened and some not opened, and I just fucking gave them to some little kid someday. Like, it was just like, one day I just had all these toys, and I was like, I don't need this anymore. I mean, I bought them when I was pretty much an adult, so It wasn't like they were my childhood toys. I was just an idiot wasting money. I also think that was still when I was stealing, so I think that was like one of the last things I stole was like ECW toys.
Do you think you stole or you bought Nova?
No, I should say, I think I got like up to the first and second wave of ECW. I didn't get into it once they changed the packaging. I think I was out. But yeah, that first, like, I think 8 dolls I think I got. My second one is right around the same time, and it's 1999, and it's something I've mentioned on the show before, and it's something where if you search worst wrestling figures on Google, it's one of the first images that pop up, and I don't care what anybody says, you guys are full of shit. It's Jakks Pacific 1999 WWF Maximum Sweat dolls. I don't know why these things get shit on so hard. I get it. They get shit on because the whole gimmick is that you're supposed to fill them up with water and press the button and it makes them sweat, and that's weird. That is a real weird thing. And I never did that with them. Again, I was pretty much an adult when I was buying these, so I didn't do the whole filling them up with water and making them sweat thing because I wasn't playing wrestling with them, but I thought these dolls were cool as hell. For you guys who don't know, they're kind of like really exaggerated dolls. Like it was like Road Dogg, Kane, Triple H, Stone Cold, The Rock, everybody, all the popular Attitude Era wrestlers. And they just had like these gigantic muscles and like crazy bodies and like ridiculous facial features. And actually that line was the first toy line where you could take Kane's mask off and see his horribly disfigured face back when he was still supposed to be like a disfigured menace. And so that was like an incentive. And again, at this time I had a lot of disposable money, and I think I had so many of these. I think I might have had the whole run of the Maximum Sweat dolls at some point. And the thing is, the whole thing I have with action figures, I have like a few wrestling ones, like as of right now. As far as dolls and action figures go with me, I don't really want things of like real people, basically. Like it's cool if you have a few, but I don't really understand, like, I need 7 Randy Ortons. I don't understand that mentality. I don't understand why they release so many, and it seems like they're like, oh, this is Randy Orton, what he wore on WrestleMania like 32, and it's just like, oh, cool. Like, I don't need to spend $20 on that, but great. That's amazing that we have that kind of, I guess, demand for them where you need the special WrestleMania 32 Randy Orton in your collection. I don't understand it. I also don't understand how this shit works, because anytime I go into a store and happen to peruse any aisle that would carry WWE wrestling figures, it's like 2 guys. It's like a Johnny Gargano. No, it's like Rich Swann from like 2 years ago, and then like a random Roman Reigns, and then like an NXT guy. And I'm just like, this isn't what I see on the internet. I see all these dolls on the internet, and it just doesn't happen. So what I'm getting at is, I think that line really appealed to me because they were ultra detailed. Most actual wrestling figures at the time were still shitty. They looked horrible. Like, go back and look at any kind of WWF figure line from 1999, and they look pretty shitty. So these looked awesome. I think just time has not been kind to them, and now that all these people have these ultra realistic toys that they have changeable heads and hands and shit, they look at these sweat dolls and they're just like, this is dumb. But back then, I thought they were pretty fucking cool.
The sweat ones are pretty sweet, but I think my favorite Jakks line was the Stomp line. Owen Hart was like a scuba man.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I always thought that was really fucking weird. My last toy line. So for those that follow us on Instagram at Virtual Pros, you may have seen me cop these pretty recently as Metacom. They're the Japanese company that makes bear bricks. They decided to recently drop a Jushin Liger series. And pound for pound, like, these have to be like the most detailed and well-designed wrestling toys of all time. Like, the paint jobs on all of them are like incredible. Like, there's no flaws. The only downside is that they're really fucking expensive. But with that, they seem to hold their value pretty well. Like, I've seen the Bruiser Brody one go for like $170. So like, there's some added incentive if you buy these things. With that said, like, they also kind of focus on really good wrestlers. Like, I could get Tenryu, I can get the Road Warriors, I can get Surfer Sting. And like, what's so cool about these figures is that like, you could unmask them if they have masks on, and they all have like faces of a baby. And I don't know why. But they just do. So if you have some money to spend, I suggest picking at least one up. I think, like, also one of the biggest perks is that, like, it's not completely shameful if you have them on display, because they look like serious-ass toys.
Yeah, I clearly do not have any of these. They do look cool, though. I'm not so into spending like a lot of money on expensive art toys, but they do look cool, which is something I was thinking about while coming up with this list, is that it's kind of crazy to me that WWE has never gotten into like doing a partnership or selling their license to Hot Toys, which is that, if you guys don't know, there's a company called Hot Toys that makes like incredibly realistic dolls or action figures that are like, I mean, back in the like 5 years ago they were like $200, so now they're probably like $300 per figure. They're just like, you could take a picture of them and trick people, and they'll be like, oh, that's like Captain America from the movie, but it's actually just a doll of Captain America, because that's how crazily detailed they are. And they've had like crazy license, like I know they did like Jigsaw, they did like one for Hostel, so it's kind of crazy that WWE does not capitalize on this, because people are willing to buy 10 Randy Ortons. Might as well just buy one really insane Randy Orton for $250. But anyways, my last one is kind of like the Job Lots version of the dolls that Al just talked about. I don't know if this is the name of the company, but it's the Pro-Kaku Mini Big Head wrestling figures, which are Japan. You know, they don't make them in America, I don't think. If you guys do not know by name, they're the little figurines that come on like the red stand. They have like slightly larger heads than they're supposed to. They're about like 2.5 inches tall. They span decades at this point. I don't think they've been manufacturing for them for decades, but you can get wrestlers from like every decade possible. Every single Japanese wrestler that's notable has one of these mini big heads. They licenses for every single promotion. I love them because they're like tiny. You could put them on a desk or something and not be a nerd. You just have like a handful of them, and it looks fine. I love the detail on them, and it's not. They are. I mean, buying them. I don't know if they sell them blind box. I think they sell them blind box.
Yeah, they do.
And yeah, so buying them secondhand can get a little bit pricey, but I think as far as somebody who's not super into collecting figures and dolls, it's like a good medium line there where you're like, I like wrestling, I kind of like dolls. I could get my favorites. Like I have, like I said, I have a handful. I wish I could have more, but they are like I said, a lot of them do get pricey. These are fairly easy to find. Like you can definitely find these on eBay. You don't have to import these from Japan. So if you guys are like me and you're not super into into dolls, but you like kind of like quirky wrestling shit, definitely search for mini big heads, because there's a lot of cool ones.
Yeah, there's a Liger series where he's just wearing a tuxedo, and I really want it, but I don't want to pay $50 for one of these things.
Yeah.
They're like quarter machine toys, so I can't justify the price, but they're pretty sweet. The mixtape segment with CM Punk, Taka Michinoku, Sari, and Todokan. Please stay tuned.
Bokuらは何を求めてさまよう形のないかけらを掴むような夢のよ愛し合いとそんな違いいつだってギリギリの想い甘い出会い今は慣れ合い君と僕をつなぐもの重なり合った後にはすれ違いどこへ向かう조급한 마음에 안락한 방에서 떨어지는 한숨을 놓치고 후회했지.
And we're back with Virtual Pros, episode 92. The world famous mixtape segment. If you're new to the show, you can find this mixtape on YouTube. Type in Virtual Pros mixtape, it'll pop right up. The first match of the night is Sari versus Dash Chisako, Sendai Girls 7/7 2019. Pretty recent. I'm sorry everybody, but as long as Sari is defending the Sendai Girls title, We're going to follow this reign on the mixtape on my end for sure. I'm into it. Midway through the match, she throws Sari outside, and she hits one of her patented gut stompers. This one might be the best one, because you can just hear the life come out of Sari as she gets stepped on. It's fucking gross. I can only imagine like the feeling that someone gets when they see that they're gonna fight Dash Chisako. Like, it has to feel like infinite dread, because like you gotta know you're in for at least 4 stomps. I wouldn't want 1, let alone 4, so it's probably not a fun time. Dash Chisako's mole. Are you into it, Mike?
Yeah, I am.
I'm into it too, man. There's like a real divorced, rich auntie vibe from it. I don't know. I can't shake it. I like it a lot. Sari's Uranage. It's like kind of like a fusion Uranage exploder. Like, she lets go of it. The one that she throws here on Dash might be a Hall of Famer too. It's fucking bad, dude. She lands like right on top of her head. It's real gross. This match runs about, I would say, 15 minutes. And I feel like they filled that time nicely. It's a pretty solid brawl. I recommend this. What'd you think?
Yeah, this is going to be a very brisk episode. It's already running briskly, and I don't have many notes for any of this stuff. It's actually 13 minutes. For some reason, I remember that. I don't know why. Just my Rain Man-like ability to remember stupid shit, but it went 13 minutes. Much like Al just said, Dash Chisako's athleticism. It might not be, right in your face, but low-key, pretty athletic. Yeah. I think she's a very athletic woman. So I couldn't positively identify and confirm, but Dash Chisako's either wearing Converse or she's wearing boots to look like Converse, and I'm really hoping she's not wearing Converse, because that just seems like the most idiotic thing to wear in a wrestling match as far as like support and stuff goes. Like, I think the only thing you could wear worse is like dress shoes. So I'm just hoping that she just has boots to look like Converse and not just wearing, because if it's the Converse, it's like the low top ones, and it's just I can't imagine doing anything active in those.
I was wondering that too, but I think it is boots that just look like Converse. Yeah. There's no way she's just wrestling in like chucks. Yeah. No way.
Yeah, because she's doing a lot of top rope moves where it's it just doesn't add up. The only other thing I had to say is I know she's done, Dash Chisako's done Chikara, because I've seen her there, but I think they should bring her over to AEW. I think she has the exact type of style that American people that aren't completely familiar with Japanese women's wrestling would be really into. I think she would be kind of the perfect Japanese person to bring over to be like the AEW's Asuka, basically. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know if maybe she just doesn't want to come to America, or they just didn't ask her, but I think she would be a number one pick for them.
She's such a good brawler.
Yeah. That's why I think I think American audiences would be into her more than a few of the other people. Like, not the people who are already into it, but yeah, the kind of people who are just like whatever about it. I think she would appeal to them more. My first match of the night is it's an 8-man tag match from IWA Mid-South from 2004. It is CM Punk, Ace Steel, Danny Daniels, and Matt Seidel, a.k.a. Evan Bourne, versus Chris Candido, rest in peace, Steve Stone, Claudio Castagnoli, a.k.a. Cesaro, and Nigel McGuinness, a.k.a. Nigel McGuinness. I don't think they changed his name. Did they? Is he still Nigel McGuinness?
Didn't he go by Desmond Wolfe in TNA?
Oh yeah, they changed it for a little. Yeah, then it's back to Nigel McGuinness. Okay. So I saw somebody tweet about this, and I don't know. I was like, this is a weird match, and the description says something about this being like the funniest match in the history of IWA Mid-South. So I was like, why not? Why not give it a chance? First thing I noticed is there's a Jim Fannin sighting. Jim Fannin is managing the CM Punk team, I believe. If you guys aren't familiar with Jim Fannin, I believe he was kind of a manager in IWA Mid-South at the time, but what I really know him from is so back before Twitter existed and basically all these social media platforms where people could like easily clown themselves every day and just say stupid shit that you like screenshot and put in like group chats and stuff like that. The only way you could get this kind of full release of just like joy was like lurking people's live journals, and Jim Fannin had one of the most miserable live journals of all time back then. And me and like people who remain nameless would just like be like, get a load of this fucking guy. So shout out, because I know there's people listening that, you know, they're in this little circle of people that I'm talking about. So shout out to all those people, because I'm just mentioning this for you, because it was great to see Jim Fannin in action. Danny Daniels is the guy who runs AAW in Chicago, and I believe he's always the guy at the door too. So this is actually the first time I've actually seen him wrestle. It's also the first time I don't know if I've seen Danny Daniels before, or Ace Steel, but in my mind it's the first time. I didn't know Ace Steel was the plainest creator wrestler guy ever, because this is the guy who trained CM Punk, and I think Colt Cabana too, and I always imagined him to be some like kind of like Mickey Rourke, Randy the Ram type guy, but he's just kind of like creator wrestler B. Like he's just this guy, and I was very surprised by that. So this match is full on comedy. It's like, it gets to the point where it's obnoxious, honestly. It's just like, I'm sure at the time these guys were like, this is the funniest thing ever, and it's entertaining. Don't get me wrong, I do like comedy wrestling, but it is just all over the place with the antics. And at one point, Chris Candido gets his whole ass out, just like, I don't even know how his pants are still covering his dick at this point, because they're just like, the back side of the underwears are like down like towards his knees almost, but he's still somehow keeping it over his dick. But if you're fans of wrestlers getting mooned, it's great. It's one of the best your ass out spots I've ever seen, actually. Then there's a part where like Jim Fannin does get involved, and he rips his shirt off, and he's wearing a sports bra. That's pretty funny. That made me laugh. That's comedy gold. I think more people should do shit like that. My last note, because this match is whatever. If you're into comedy shit, you never seen it. There's a lot of random names in this. I think Eddie Kingston's on commentary. It's Bryce Remsburg with hair, Claudio Castagnoli with hair. There's a lot of people with hair in this. But I am so glad this match happened back when no one chanted stuff, because this match would be the ultimate obnoxious crowd chant starter of all time. With all the dumb shit they're doing in this match, oh my god. If this match happened within the last 5 years, it would be the all-time most obnoxious match ever. So I'm very glad while I was watching this, it was back when people did not need to chant every 5 seconds, because it would have just been too much. So it's a slight recommend for me if you like comedy wrestling and you've never seen it. It's a pretty weird curiosity piece, but I don't think it's everybody's cup of tea.
Yeah, CM Punk, he comes out dancing, and I'm not going to lie to you and to the fans of Virtual Pros. I was pretty shocked at the amount of rhythm CM Punk has. I don't know why. And I was like, oh, he has some rhythm, more than I thought. It kind of took me out of the match, honestly. But Mike talked about this, and Chris Candido, R.I.P., he has that wagon out. And he takes like 5 consecutive body slams, none of which are like hard enough to like move his underwear at all. So I was like, man, there's some like real dark arts going on, and I can't really figure it out. I'm surprised you didn't talk about this, but there's a part in the match where they start doing chicken fights.
Yeah.
The thing you do in the pool with like girls and stuff, or your friends. It doesn't matter, I guess. Where you have someone on your shoulders, and the people that are on your shoulders fight each other. I don't know why, but Chris Candido and Cesaro are on the same team. But Candido, for whatever reason, he fucking dumps Cesaro on his fucking head.
Yeah.
Like Manami Toyota style. And I'm like, what the fuck, man? That's your friend. And it looked pretty legit, man. Cesaro shook it off, but damn, he got folded the fuck over. And I don't know why. But yeah, this is a comedy match. And I had thought, man, the way Chris Candido over emotes, it kind of makes me think he would have been fucking money in Michinoku Pro during their run. He would have been pretty good. Yeah, you also talked about this as well, but this was described in a YouTube summary as the match people have called the funniest match in IWA MS history. And I'd like to meet these people. I'm just very curious. But yeah, this was okay. I think Cesaro should go back to wearing Dockers. I thought that was a good look. He looks like a video game boss. The last match of the night that I had picked is Taka Michinoku versus Triple H, WWF Raw, 4/10/2000. So for those that have the WWE Network, you can watch this by searching for Raw 359. It starts off at the 45-minute mark. If you had to guess, Mike, how long it took for me to track down this episode via the WWE search engine, what would be your guess?
Dude, so my first note about this match is how bad the quality is on YouTube, and I was like, I could just watch this on the network, and I was like, there is no fucking way I would ever find this. Like, just by using their search, I don't think it's possible. I don't think you could do it. I think you would have to Google when this match happened and look that way through the archives.
Okay, this took me 12 minutes. So that's what I did first. I looked at when this aired. That wasn't hard. It came up pretty quickly, April 10th. Then I typed in WWF 4/10/2000. Not a fucking hit. And I type in Taka Michinoku. Not a fucking hit either. Then I type in WWF Raw 2000. And now I'm getting somewhere. The thing with the search engine, though, is that you can't sort by date, which is something that I feel like you could have done in the 80s, but not here. And so I'm kind of holding my breath with this WWE Network update. If they don't have search by date or relevance, I'm done. I quit. I'm not going to fucking pay for this anymore.
They're not going to have that. They have like a preview video, and all they did is change the interface and make it a little slicker. There is no way anything else is going to be fixed.
Search by date. That's all I fucking want, and they can't do it. It's unreal. Anyway, so I picked this match, and I watched it on a Monday just because the theme of that night's Raw was Raw Reunion. And I thought I'd step back in the time machine and rewatch a personal favorite of mine. And who would have thought that 19 years ago, the main heels on WWF Raw, Shane McMahon, Triple H, and Stephanie. How fucking crazy is that, Mike? How fucking crazy.
That is nuts. So nuts.
Anyway, Taka, he's announced as Taka Michinoku by Lillian Garcia. And frankly, it's a bummer. But right off the bat, Taka, he's fucking Triple H up. And I remember being geeked as like a 15-year-old watching this. Like, it's still a pretty weird matchup to think about, but it happened. And it's even weirder to think that Triple H would like bump and sell as hard as he did for Taka. Like, I'm pretty sure he's not used to taking fucking head scissors, but sure enough, he is here. So I thought this match was like pretty crisp throughout. Triple H, later on in the match, he drops Taka ribs first onto the crowd barrier. That looked pretty fucked. Taka's slapping Triple H's lips off too, which is pretty crazy. But with that being said, like, nostalgia, it's a motherfucker, because I could have sworn, I would have bet $100 that Taka hits the Michinoku driver on Triple H, but he doesn't. But the near fall sequence, I think, like, it still holds up in people's heads, and I think it still is something that people hold fondly to this day. It's a really bizarre matchup, but it's really fun. I strongly recommend it. Watching this if you haven't already.
Yes, as I noted, the video quality for the YouTube version is very bad. I don't think there's going to be anything ever worse on our mixtape worse than this. A long time ago, I uploaded a Shinsuke Nakamura versus Kevin Steen match that had some kind of like copyright protection on it that looked possibly worse than this, but it's long since gone. I almost got suspended from YouTube for it, which would have ruined my life. But this is very bad, so take Al's advice and watch this on the WWE Network if you can. As Al pointed out, it's crazy because at this point, Taka's been in the WWF for at least a couple years, and they're still fucking this dude's name up. And Jerry Lawler fucks it up too. And it's just like, dude, this guy has been your friend for 2 years, and you're still fucking his name up. That's how far we've come along as a society where Americans can pronounce Japanese names now. Back in 1999, not so much, or 2000 even. Where are we? So I don't like this match is pretty good for a Raw match where you know that there's no goddamn way Taka Michinoku's actually leaving with the belt. It's a very good match, and it's just so crazy to me they can't do this now. Like, if this match happened now, Taka would beat Triple H for the next month on Raw in non-title matches, and then get his ass beat at the pay-per-view. And it's just like, it's way, way less cooler than this, seeing Taka like almost win. Which brings me to my next point, and I think I'm getting this match mixed up with a completely different match. But I swear to God, the Taka Triple H match that happened on TV was the one. I swear to God, Taka actually pinned Triple H, and like then they come back from commercial break, and they're like, "Oh no, something happened. Triple H still has the belt." But was that Jericho? Am I thinking
it's
of?
Jericho.
Okay, so I was like expecting that to happen, and then it didn't, and I was just like, "Oh, that's a bummer." He didn't even get that. But I swear that happened with Taka too, but I guess not, because this match did stick out in my head. Like, I actually remembered it, and it's not like I remember very many Raw matches, so I thought that was why. But I guess I was just so amped that Taka got like a lot of offense in. But yeah, it's a pretty decent match as far as like, if you watch Raw right now and you're just like, man, this sucks. Like, even back when in the so-called dark ages of Raw, when everything sucked because they did bra and panties matches, they still did probably even better wrestling back then, which is pretty sad. My final thing is not a wrestling match. It's actually a little travel vlog almost. It is the major WF pod in Japan. This is Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins, aka Brian Myers and Brian Cardona or something Cardona. So they go by their real names. They have their own action figure podcast, and it's kind of transferred over into being a YouTube show sometimes. And I just figured, A, this was fitting for this episode, and B, I'll get to. But so they're in Japan. It's Kurt Hawkins' first time in Japan. They go to their first stop. They go to Totokan, and it's wild to me that Zack Ryder does not remember if he's ever been there. And this guy is the doll man. He is the $1 million broski, or the $1,000 broski, because he buys wrestling toys he buys like the wooden blocks that made the molds for the goddamn wrestling packaging, and he doesn't know if he's been to like the biggest memorabilia store in Japan. So that's pretty wild to me.
I can see why he was confused, because they moved.
Okay, so that could be why then. Yeah. So they're in the store, they're browsing, they're going through shit. And honestly, I don't think Zack Ryder has much interest in Japanese merchandise or even action figures too much. He's pretty much into American shit. But they're playing John Cena's rap CD over the over their speakers. Do you think they did this on purpose because they were in the store, or do you think they just had that was like a big coincidence?
Oh, 1,000% they were trying to troll Zack Ryder. No doubt about it.
Okay, good.
I don't even think they played music when I was there. So, yeah.
It's yet another tour of Totokan that we've talked about on this mixtape, and they don't get into the naughty stuff. Once again, no naughty stuff. Zack Ryder's not searching for kiss cards or Io Shirai's used stuff. Which, it would be pretty cool, honestly, if, I don't know if Zack Ryder and Io Shirai are actually friends. I'm sure Chelsea Green has some used garments there.
1,000%. No doubt about it.
Yeah. So he could have been like, oh, this is my girlfriend's used underwear. Like, how crazy is that? That would have been, like, a really cool thing in the YouTube video.
How sick would it be if he, like, just brought, like, his girlfriend's clothes to, like, fucking bounce figures? That would have been incredible.
That could have happened, and they just didn't. They didn't make the final edit, and that really bums me out. I'm also kind of bummed. So this is Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins show. We've talked about it on this podcast before. It was on the mixtape, I think, like the first episode they ever did.
Yeah,
and it is hands down my favorite secondary WWE entertainment. I love this show. I don't collect wrestling figures, and I think these guys are like hyper nerds about it, or to the point where it's astounding. But Zack Ryder is so good at this. There is another video I was like flip-flopping on where I recommend. I'm never going to put it on the mixtape, I don't think, because I don't think it's worth talking about. But there's a video where he buys a vintage dead stock still in the box AWA wrestling ring. And,
I've seen that one. That was so good.
yeah, and like he opens it and the ring is ripped, and like the whole rest of the video he's trying to keep his composure so badly, and he can't do it, and it's so fucking good. So definitely search that out. So I love this show, but one of the things I love about the show is they usually give the totals of like what they spent at the stores, and they didn't do it this time, and I was kind of bummed about that because I would like to see what they bought and how much they spent, but they glossed over that, unfortunately. Then they're like back in the car. They're going to get food and eventually go to Ribera Steakhouse. And at that time, they're like traveling with their Japanese handlers. And Zack Ryder's like, Yoshitatsu sucks, right? And the other guy's like, yeah, Yoshitatsu sucks. And I was really hoping there was some real street beef between Zack Ryder and Yoshitatsu. But it turns out at the end, it's all a joke. So that was kind of lame. But so they get to... yeah, it's at Ribera. I think, yeah, they get to Ribera, and there's this woman there who's crying over Kurt Hawkins. She has like a very well-made Kurt Hawkins sign. I have a feeling like their handler was like, yo, he's going to be here if you want to meet him. And she came to meet him. Like, there's no way this happenstance happened. But either way, it's so crazy that there are fans in Japan that are this wild about WWE that they would get this broken up over Kurt Hawkins. No disrespect to Kurt, but he's kind of low on the totem pole. So it was a pretty cool moment. Zack Ryder tries to bust his balls about it, and this is the whole reason. This one part is the whole reason I put this video on the mixtape. So Zack Ryder's trying to bust his balls and say, yeah, how much did you pay that girl to like cry over you and stuff? And he's like, maybe if she had YouTube in 2011, she would know who you were. And oh my god, the first time I watched this video, I just fell out. Like that was like the death blow to Zack Ryder. Kurt actually fucked up the joke because he could have said 2006. I think it would have been a better joke. But this is one of their better videos. I highly recommend this show. It's kind of weird because it comes on the WWE channel sporadically, but they also have their own YouTube channel. Their own YouTube channel has a lot of kind of bullshit that I'm not like. I don't always watch. Like they do like a lot of unboxings, and I sometimes watch them, but there's only so much of like an actual adult opening like a toy and being like, yeah, this is the toy. Like that's not really my thing, but their regular show where they go like hunting for toys and shit, I think is super good.
Yo, jog my memory, but the video of him getting the AWA ring, he like stops the video to message that dude on eBay, right? Yeah, he can't. It's incredible. It's so. I'll add it to the mixtape next episode. It's so fucking funny. Anyway, so Zack Ryder here, he describes one of his friends as being HARD because they're about to go shopping in Japan. This sounds dumb, but I know from here on out, I'm going to start saying this. And, I'm not happy with myself. So yeah, the first stop is Totocon, and apparently there's a giveaway pile outside the store, presumably for things they can't sell. And in this pile, there's a Lex Luger figure. Man, if I was Lex Luger and I saw this, that might fucking put me at the end of my rope right then and there. That's pretty cold-hearted by Totocon to do that. That's fucked up.
Dude, so I've been in bands, and I don't think there's anything that phases me as hard as being in a record store and seeing, like, my old record in the dollar bin. Like, that shit just fucking kills me. And, like, I mean, I know my band wasn't popular, so I should expect it, but it's still, like... fuck, like it's just like motherfucker.
Do you like actively look to see if your record made it there or what? Or
I haven't seen one. I haven't, like, I've never actively looked, but yeah, like the store Generations, I remember being in there. This is in New York. I remember being in there and being like, oh shit, that's my CD, and then like looking closer and like seeing like a $2 price tag on it and just being like, oh fuck. And I remember being in like Baltimore and just like flipping through the records and seeing it and like looking at the price and just being like, god damn it.
Oh my god, how crushing is that? But at least it's not being given away outside the store. At least you made it inside the doors, right?
That's true, yeah.
But yeah, I was watching this video and it kind of sparked a rebrand idea in my head. And I think this would like push Kurt Hawkins to the fucking moon without a question. So we're in agreement that he looks exactly like Seth Green, right?
I don't know about exactly.
They look dead on like each other. Anyway, with all like the 90s nostalgia in full bloom, if Kurt Hawkins decided to cosplay as Kenny fucking Fisher from Can't Hardly Wait, ski goggles and all, he'd like at least headline a takeover. No doubt in my mind. Ryan Ward, whoever's writing for that show, fuck with me. I have ideas. But yeah, you talked about it. I'm pretty disappointed that they didn't check out the fucking Kiss card case. I need to see what's up with that, but they didn't go check it out. Yeah, later on in the video, they go to Ribera, and my opinion that these steaks are A1 fucking trash without me even ever eating there, it's solidified. Like, why are these steaks peach colored, Mike? What the fuck? Did you see the color of these steaks?
Yeah, it's weird.
They look bad. With that said, like, I'll watch anything Totocon related, even though like the gems are few and far between these days. But yeah, this is one of my favorite shows that WWE does, and I recommend this highly as well. We fleshed this episode out, Mike. 120,
Yep.
Perfect.
Yep.
That was episode 92 of that World Champion sound. Hit us on Twitter and Instagram at VRTL Pros. Hit us on SoundCloud. Hit us on iTunes. Hit us on Spotify. Email us at virtualpros64@gmail.com. Mike, how did this episode go without AKAs? It was kind of weird, right?
I mean, it's way shorter. It's 20 minutes shorter because there's no AKAs.
Fuck, dude.
Where it's
Thanks
more
a lot,
mature. It's more mature. More mature virtual pros.
Episode 93 in 2 weeks.